Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Bashem Kadash. All praises due. Peace and salutations to the elect out there. Brother Matthias coming with another breakdown of the scriptures today. It's a story that I was reading in the book of Samuel. And I just want to share with the Ox and Akwat out there to show you how things are going to be when we return to our power. All right. Today I want to talk about Abigail. I'll let the scriptures confirm who she is. It's a beautiful story. Pray that you're blessed. I'm going to start at Samuel, 25th chapter, 1 Samuel, starting at verse 1. It says, "And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together, and lamented him, and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Mon, whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb." Now the name Nabal in the Hebrew means fool, just so you know. So Nabal was a fool. Verse 4. "And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men. And David said unto the young men, Get ye up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him that live in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thy house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds, which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. Ask the young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thy hand unto thy servants and to thy son David." And when David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants now, a days that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? And David said unto his men, Gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword, and David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. So Nabal didn't want to share. So David armed himself to go kill him. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. The men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything as long as we were conservant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day, and all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. So Nabal was hard-headed. Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. She was getting the food together herself, but she didn't want David coming up and murking their whole family. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so. As she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him. And he hath requited me evil for good. So David protected all of Nabal's goods, kept his men safe, made sure nothing happened to him, made sure they was all good. Then Nabal kicked him in the ass. All right? It's 22. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if I leave of all that pertain to him by morning light, any that pisseth against the wall. He said, when I get up there, killing everybody. Everybody. All right? And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off the ass and fell before David on her face and bowed herself to the ground and fell at his feet and said, Upon me, my Lord, upon me let this iniquity be. And let thy handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience and hear the words of thy handmaid. So she was begging him. Because see, there was no 911 back then. And there's not going to be any 911 in the near future. And this is how women are going to conduct themselves, because a man is going to be their only protection. A man from their nation. All right? And David was getting ready to exact vengeance on Nabal, whom she was married to. All right? She said, Let my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial. Now that wasn't a compliment. She was basically going against her own husband, righteously so, because he was an idiot. Even Nabal, for as his name, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. She's basically letting them know that she's married to an idiot, a fool. She said, But I, thy handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord have withholden thee from coming to shed blood. She calling David Lord. Okay? And from avenging thyself with thy own hand, now let thy enemies and they that seek evil to my Lord be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thy handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thy handmaid. So she took Nabal's wickedness on herself and was begging David for mercy. For the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil have not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, and to seek thy soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be found in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God, and the souls of thy enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel. So she knew that Saul was hunting David. King Saul was hunting David at that moment. And she was telling David that he was going to be okay and that he was going to end up being a ruler over Israel. Everybody knew that David was on the run for King Saul for almost 20 years. All right? Because after he killed Goliath, Saul got jealous and sought to kill him. Okay? Verse 31. That this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord have avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thy handmaid. She calling him her Lord. She's already talking to David as if he's king already. All right? She's just saying, when you become king, please remember me. All right? And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which has kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with my own hand. For in very deed as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. He said it again. He said, if you wouldn't have came here, man, I was getting ready to come and slaughter y'all entire village, man. Nobody was going to be left that could peace standing up. Meaning he was going to kill all the men. 35. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thy house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. Verse 37, But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. She told Nabal, if I wouldn't have went up there, David was coming up here to murk everybody, starting with you. And everybody was going to get put to death because of your insolence. So Nabal got depressed, and then the Most High went on ahead and put judgment on him, took him out of there. Verse 39. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord, that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and have kept this servant from evil. For the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And if you just wait, it might take a while, but if you a man or the Lord, all right, or you believe in the Lord, or a woman of the Lord, and somebody messing with you, all you got to do is wait, man. Most High will avenge you in his time. And that's what happened. He took Nabal out of here. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take him to wife. Verse 40. Abigail's on the market now. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spoke unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee, to take thee to him to wife. And she arose and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thy handmaid be a servant, to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. So she wanted to get down there and wash the feet of David's men. All right? And Abigail hasted and arose and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messenger of David and became his wife. Now, you know, when she went after him with the 5 damsels, they were under her. So when David took her, he took her 5 damsels with him. All right? Okay? So, verse 43. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. But Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Phalti, the son of Laish, which was of Galim. So, David ended up getting Abigail because he put judgment on Nabal, and he took him out of here. Because what Nabal did was wicked. Now, what I want to show you was why it was so important that the way Abigail treated David, and how respectful and everything she was to him. All right. David didn't forget that. Abigail was very special to him. And we're going to see how Abigail benefited from her treatment of David. All right. So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 30. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 30, starting at verse 1. And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the 3rd day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire. Now the Amalekites are Edomites, all right? It's the so-called white man in the Old Testament. Yes, they were back there, all right? The Amalekites were actually the so-called Jews that are in Israel right now. Those are Amalekites, all right? That's what they look like. So they came to David's hometown of Ziklag. They raided it, pillaged it, and burnt it to the ground. Verse 2. And had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So after they sacked the town, they took all the women. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. Now an ephod is something like this, but it had a bunch of colors on it. And they would put it on, and they would inquire of the Most High Yahweh on what to do about a situation. He would pray on it first, all right? Verse 8, and David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered and pursue. For thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. So he got his answer. He's on a search and rescue mission. Verse 9, so David went, he and 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook of Besor, where those that were left behind stayed. Now, think about Abigail, right? Kidnapped by some big funky ass Edomites. And you know what they was going to do with her, right? And like I said, there's no 911 back then. The only protection our women had in the ancient days was their men. And they depended on their men to there was no single women back then. That's why they had multiple wives, because there could be no women walking around. She had to have the protection of a man of her nation. We don't have that here in the Americas. Esau is protecting y'all right now. But when this society breaks down, it's going to go back to this, okay? And a woman walking around with no protection is going to be just a victim, all right? So I just thought I'd insert that in there, all right? Verse 9, 1 Samuel 30, verse 9. So David went, he and the 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook of Besor, where those that were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook. They could not go over the brook Besor. David was riding so hard, he wore out 200 men, and they had to stay behind because they couldn't keep up the pace. That's how hard David was riding to catch up with the Edomites that took his wives away. All right? And they found an Egyptian in the field and brought him to David and gave him bread. And he did eat, and they made him drink water. Now at this time, the Egyptians and the Edomites had enslaved the Egyptians. All right? And they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water 3 days and 3 nights. So he was on an involuntary fast. This Egyptian, he was wore out and delirious because he had nothing to eat. So David and his men gave him some food so they could question him. And David said unto him, to whom belongest thou? And whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, servant to an Amalekite. See, Esau was ruling him. He was a servant to Esau. And my master left me because 3 days ago I fell sick. Verse 14. We made an invasion upon the south of the Sherethites, and upon the coast which belongeth to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb. And we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said unto him, canst thou bring me down to this company? And he said, swear unto me by God that thou wilt neither kill me, nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. He said, I know where they at, but you got to promise me you're not going to kill me when I tell you, or you're not going to turn me over to them once we get there. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. So David finally caught up with them. He looked over the hill. They down there having a party, man, boogieing, right? The Egyptians showed them, he gave up their position. Verse 17, and David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day. God, he was whooping their ass and slaughtering them all night, all day into the next night. And there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels and fled. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away. And David rescued his 2 wives, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil, nor anything that they had taken to them. David recovered all. And David took all the flocks and the herds which they drave before those of the cattle, and said, this is David's spoil. And David came to the 200 men which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook of Besor, and they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. And when David came near to the people, he saluted them. They answered all the wicked men and men of Belial of those that went with David, and said, because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Then said David, ye shall not do so. My brethren, with what which the Lord hath given us, who hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our land. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? So the 200 men that stayed back, the rest of the men didn't want to split the booty with them. So David said, that's what we're not going to do. We are going to share with them. He said, but as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. He still gave them part of the spoil. And it was so from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord, to them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in the south of Ramoth, and to them which were in Jatir, and to them which were in R.O.I, and to them which were in Siphmoth, and to them which were in Esatomia, and to them which were in Rakal, and to them which were in the cities of the Jeremielites, and unto them which were in the cities of the Kenites, and unto them which were in Hormah, and to them which were in Coruscant, and to them which were in Athak, and to them which were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to hunt. So he recovered Abigail, all right? He recovered his women. He got everything back, all right? And it's because of the relationship that they had, okay? The women were protected. Now, if there were no men and she didn't have a man, she would have just been captured, and that's it. I want to show you Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. This is why when society collapses, this is what it says is going to happen. In that day, and that day is not here yet. Matter of fact, let me click it back to Isaiah chapter 3, starting at verse 25. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and the mighty men in the war, and their gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. All right? So when these race wars kick off, women are going to be by themselves, the same way Abigail was. All right? After Nabal passed away, she married David, but look what happened. Her town got ransacked and they got kidnapped. So when that day comes and society breaks down, this is what happens, Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. It's about the protection. All right? And this is how the Most High has it set up. Verse 2. In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious. The branch of the Lord are his men. All right. And the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. So this is coming in the future. Right. So when we preach about, multiple wives and polygamy and all of that, this is what it's for. This is the Most High will protect you. Okay. You don't have to believe it, but it is coming. All right. So, this lesson here, pray that you were edified, and I pray that your eyes will open on a different perspective to the scriptures. And just want to read that story to give you a better outlook on the reason why there's one man with so many. All right. So, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All praises to you. All praises due. And peace and blessings to the elect and the 1/3 of Israel. All right. Until next time, Matthias out.